Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Buckeye fans of all ages, the Ohio podcast probably brings to you the Buckeye Lounge. I'm your host, Shrockstar, Sean Schrock, with my co-host, like always, my partner in crime, the Wolverine Slayer herself, TG. And tonight we have a very special guest, a Buckeye legend, Mr. Pepe Pearson. Pepe, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, doing great. How are you guys?
Doing
Great.
awesome. Or should
Yes.
I call you Coach Pearson?
Yeah, you can call me that too. So
Yeah,
been doing.
guys, make sure to go to our make sure you guys help up with our sponsors for the show, mybookie.com. Use the promo code OHIO for $500. You get $500.
$500 free play. So
Yep.
now, Pepe, fill everybody in what you're doing right now. You're coaching a little team down in Texas, an FCS school, Tarleton State, isn't it called Tarleton State? Is it?
Yeah, Tarleton State University. So just to give you a little bit of history for the people that don't know, I actually started my coaching career back in 2000. I started at Ohio Dominican University there in Columbus, Ohio, and from there, I spent some time at Ohio Dominican, and from there I went to Youngstown State and coached with Bo Pelini,
Nice.
Richard Nutt, and some other great coaches at Youngstown State for a short stint. And from Youngstown State, 8 months later, I was at Marshall University. So I was at Marshall University from 2016 to 2021. And then at that point, Eddie George was getting the job at Tennessee State. And so he invited me in to be his running backs coach. So I was the running backs coach with Eddie at Tennessee State from 21 to 23. And so from there, I went on to Tarleton State University here in Texas. And so I've been here in Texas since 2023 and going into my third year.
Hey, congratulations on a big win Saturday. It was on ESPN2, and I got to check it out. And you guys went to Portland State. First time in 22 years that they've been shut out at home. And you guys, I mean, your backs look great. Your defense looked great. Great team win. A lot to be excited for. I know it's early, but it's a great start.
Yes, it was a great start for our program. We wanted to go out there and have a good showing and play clean. I thought our defense did an outstanding job. Obviously, to shut somebody out nowadays, that's a pretty hard feat to do. So they did an outstanding job by shutting that team out. Hadn't been done in 20 odd years. And then offensively, uh, we ended up rushing for over 300 yards. So we wanted to bring our running game with us. I think we did that. It was a good first game. We passed the ball around a little bit, but that was okay. We're going to get better at our passing game, and we're looking forward to facing Army this Friday.
Wow. Now let everybody know that is an FCS school. Um, how
Yes,
many?
Charlton State is right here in Stephenville, Texas, which is about an hour and a half south of Fort Worth, Dallas Fort Worth.
Okay.
So that's where Tarleton State is located. It's an outstanding program. They get a lot of support here. They have great facilities here. It's a Division One FCS school. They had been going through when I got here in 23. They have been going through a 4-year transition from Division Two to Division One, and then that came to fruition last year where we played our first D1 schedule, and we ended up making it to the first round of the playoffs. Going to the second round of the playoffs, we lost to South Dakota State, but that a lot of people think that was an outstanding feat for your first year in FCS Division One.
I tell you what, guys. I was watching the game on ESPN2, like I said, and they showed your facilities and how much your boosters put into it, and how much backing you guys have, and that's as nice of a facility as any. I mean, you can rank it up there with a lot of the D1 schools. I mean, big programs. I mean, that's
Yeah, yeah.
spectacular.
I think there's a lot to be said for our administration, our donors. We get a lot of support here. So when I got here, outside of the people just being very nice, there's just a tremendous support in the community, in the administration at the university. There's constant growth and building on campus. We just finished a 100 something odd million arena that's going to host our basketball team and different concerts as well. So they put a lot of money into the university. There's great support, especially for the football team. So it's up to us as the football team. It's up to us to go out and do what we need to do to kind of just broaden who Tarleton State is.
Nice.
That's awesome. What's it like coaching?
It's been great coaching. I'm going into my 25th year, and it's been great. That I got into coaching because I love the game of football, and after I was done playing football, I just wanted to be able to give back in a way. So I got right after my career was over. I got right into coaching back in 2000, and I've just had a great time mentoring young men. Helping them with real life situations and talking them through things. So it's just been a tremendous time for me to be a coach, and I love what I do. And 25 years later, still doing it.
Yeah, we had talked to Miller, D. Miller, and obviously he wanted us to tell you what's up. But he had talked about how it's important, in his opinion, for like Ohio State, like former Buckeye players, to, like, guide the current generation. Do you feel the same way? Like for former Buckeye players to, like, guide the current generation and navigate them through the not just through football but through life in general.
Yeah, I think D was spot on with that. A lot of us come from a time where it took hard work and dedication with everything you do to succeed in life. And some of those life lessons that we learned, it's been great to impart those things into young men to help them through their journey. So I think D was spot on that, and I'm happy to be in position to be able to do that.
Now, Pepe, I was wondering, was when you were in high school and you were being recruited, was Ohio State always the school that you wanted? Was that your dream school? Because you come from Euclid High School, and there was another great running back from Euclid High School that we've had on the show, and he mentioned you by name.
Yeah.
And Mr. Juice, Mr. Robert Smith, was on the show, and he went to Ohio State, and he came from your high school. Did you kind of just want to follow in the footsteps, or was there any other schools that you really wanted to go to?
You know what? As I was coming up through the ranks in Euclid, Ohio, Robert Smith was somebody that I looked up to. So I went to a lot of high school games before I got up to Euclid as a high schooler, and I went up there to watch Robert Smith and what he did. And at a very early stage during that time, I just said, "Hey, this is what I want to be doing." And you know, ended up getting to that point where I was a high schooler and I began my career at Euclid, and I wanted to do as good as Robert and try to do better if I could. But there's been a lot of outstanding athletes. Robert was, the most decorated to come through Euclid. We had a long list of running backs that came through Euclid. Tony Fisher, myself, Rashawn Jernigan. Um, we had a really great tradition in regards to running back. So, when Robert went to Ohio State, um, I really didn't understand what going to Ohio State was. Originally, during that time, I was a big Notre Dame fan. And so Notre Dame was high up on my list. And, I wanted to go play for Notre Dame. So, there's some interesting stories regarding that situation. But I ended up falling in love with Ohio State, and I'm happy that I did that. That was the best decision I ever made.
A
How
lot of
did Ohio State recruit you?
Say that again.
I said, how did Ohio State recruit you?
Well, they Ohio State obviously, they would come to the school. Back then you had to physically go out. There weren't all these websites with the 5 stars and 4 stars. So you had to physically go out. You had to meet meet the player. You had to talk to the player, the parents, the coaches, and Ohio State did a great job of doing that, just to pique my interest. Because originally, there were teams like Notre Dame, Penn State, the team up north who were interested as well. And then Ohio State came in, and that's how the story began.
There is one thing I want to ask you though, just pertaining to your high school career, because where you went to high school in Euclid, I mean that Cleveland area is so loaded with high school talent. I mean, there's so many great teams. Were you ever approached by, say, a certain Catholic school, not maybe St. Ignatius, maybe, or St. Ed's? Was there any, tempting offers to go there? Because I mean, at the time they were winning, national championships, state championships almost every year. I mean, were you ever tempted to go there?
It's funny. You know, I, I I know Coach Kyle,
Hmm.
great coach. I also, like Robert, was a track guy, and would see Coach Kyle at the track meets and everything like that. Now, there may have been some interest with him and me going to St. Ignatius, but I think I heard Robert say it best. Even though there may have been some interest, I wanted to stay with guys that I had grown up with. I had kind of come up the ranks with, from Forest Park to Euclid Central, all the way up to Euclid. And, it's kind of a similar story that Robert told, in regards to having that public education,
Yes.
being with the people that, I was raised up with, and that I lived in the same neighborhood. It was something about that that I just wanted to stay, and I ended up doing that.
It's kind of funny because I have a story because I was working during the summer. Where I live, I live in a small town called Marblehead. We're by Sandusky, and we're a lot of tourists come up here, and there's a lot of kids that come up for the summer, and they have summer cottages and stuff. Well, I was working with this kid, and he went to Euclid High School, and he told me, he goes, the next great back from Ohio State, he's already there, and you're going to hear of him. He goes, you went to my high school, just like Robert Smith did. His name's Pepe Pearson, and watch out for him. And I tell you what, next thing I know, it's the fall and you're running the ball. I was like, man, that kid was right. I mean, dang, was he right?
Well, yeah, I was just happy to be able to follow some guys that really, you know, they set the stage. They were the example for me. Guys like Robert Smith, and when I got to Ohio State, the Raymond Harrises, the
Mhm.
Eddie Georges. Those are guys that I learned a lot from, and respected so much, and respect so much to this day. So I in a lot of cases I had some big shoes to fill,
Mhm.
and so that was the thing about me. I wanted to fill those shoes, and I did everything that I could to do that.
That's awesome. Hey, Sean, you mind reading this?
Can you please ask Pepe to reflect on his years coaching the Marion Mayhem? I know my man Chris, who lives in Marion, loved watching the Mayhem. That's from our producer, one of our owners of the station, Mr. Eric Boggs, whose cousin is actually Ryan Miller. So,
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the Marion Mayhem. That was interesting time in my life. It was one of those things, semi-professional league or whatnot, and ended up being the head coach and general manager there for, I think, 2 seasons. Took that team from a 500 team to a playoff team. And I think we brought some excitement to the city of Marion. So that was a good experience for me. I got some head coaching experience. I got a chance to get some organization as far as running an organization. I got that experience. I got the experience of calling plays. So that was a real important time for me as far as my development as a coach.
what our producer, his name's Buck Vader, and he's a huge fan of yours. He wanted me to ask you this question. He wanted to ask what was it like not only playing with Eddie but coaching for Eddie.
Well, playing with Eddie, it was an honor to play with Eddie. When I got to Ohio State in '94, Eddie was just coming into his own. He had some trials and tribulations
Mhm.
himself up to that point. Ohio State really didn't know if he was going to be the starter. even though I was a freshman there. So we were actually competing for the starting job, going into his junior year. But I can remember going into his junior year, I saw Eddie when as he developed from just being maybe a, an overachiever or whatnot, or being a really good player to a great player. So I got a chance to see that firsthand, see his development into being a great player, and ended up winning the Heisman. So, one of the things and some of the things Eddie showed me was work ethic. The summer before his junior year, it was the first time that I seen somebody work so hard. He worked on his craft. He worked on his footwork. He worked on every aspect of his game to be the best running back he could be. And he just took off that junior season. I wasn't quite ready. I did play my freshman year a little bit, and I think if I had been more seasoned, I could have competed for that starting job. But me and Eddie had a tremendous relationship. Eddie was my host. That was a big reason why I came to Ohio State. He was my host on my visit. I got a chance to room with Eddie the summer before going to Ohio State. So we had a close relationship, and just so much respect for him.
How would you say the running backs compare today to when you played? How's the position? How's it different? How's it evolved? What would you say if there's any difference? What it's like now compared to when you played?
Well, I think the when I played there, there were far and few. You could get some diamonds in the rough,
Okay.
per se. You could find some diamonds in the rough, like myself. You know, um, like an Eddie George. Nowadays these guys have so many different advantages that we didn't have back in the day. The way they are being recruited right now, with all the different websites and the ratings and all the different things. Back then you used to have to go buy a magazine to figure out who was the top 100 players in the country, and you would have to read through it. So it's a little bit different in regards to how recruiting is done, and finding athletes is more easier. But as far as are running backs better now than they were back then? I don't think so. I think the talent is the same. They just have different advantages regarding how they're recruited, and then the facilities and the schools that they're going to now are just amazing. From the trainers to the athletic facilities to the nutrition, it's just a totally different ball game nowadays.
It's I'm not gonna lie. It's actually one of the things about how you can see how college football is evolving. Basically, which I would actually do. I would like to hear your statement on this one. What is your thoughts on NIL and the transfer portal in college football? How you feel about those things?
Well, the NIL, I think, is something that for a long time, I think that would have been good for us during our time. I'm happy to see the guys today kind of getting what they're worth. Back in the day, your jersey may be selling on campus, that sort of thing, and back in the day, you didn't really receive any funds or anything for that. But that everybody knew who the number 29 was, or who the number 27 was, and they would go purchase those jerseys. So I think I like the fact that those guys are able to get compensated for their name and image and likeness.
Would you say when you played, you had to be the backs have to be more complete now because of the different offenses? I mean, the way offenses are now compared to when they were when you played. Do you have to be more of a complete back? You think nowadays than you did back then?
Yeah, I mean, even back then, you had to be a complete back. If you look at Robert, if you look at myself, if you look at Eddie, if you look at Raymond, the greats, Scotty Graham. If you look at the greats, one thing we all could do was we were great runners. We were able to catch the ball out of the backfield. We were able to block when it came to blocking. I think you have to have all of those things about you as a running back. They're just able. There's more guys able to do that today because of the way offenses are structured now. That the game is more wide open. The back is used more out of the backfield because more teams are spreading it out and passing the ball around. So if you're able to run the ball, catch the ball out of the backfield, and be a willing blocker nowadays, you're going to have success wherever you are.
You played for Coach Cooper, and the guy. Everybody that we've talked to that played for him loves the guy, and he gets a lot of flack because of his record against Michigan. How did you like playing for Coach Cooper?
I enjoyed my time playing for Coach Cooper and loved my time at Ohio State. Never had any issues with Coach Cooper. I thought he was a great motivator, a great recruiter. He had a personality about him that was contagious. I thought playing for Coach Cooper was just fine. I would do it all over again if I could. But I think he was a great coach. I think Ohio State during that time may have had some hard luck, but we did the best. We won a lot of games in the
Oh yeah.
'90s. We won a lot of games in the '90s, and we have a lot to be proud of. It's just that some of those games at the end of the year didn't go in our favor, but we had outstanding teams, some of the best teams ever at Ohio State in the '90s. And that's a tribute to Coach Cooper and his coaching staff and everybody he had working for him.
Do you have a funny John Cooper story you could share with us?
Yeah.
Well, a funny John Cooper story. Well, this was kind of funny to me. I think it was my junior year. We were playing team up north, getting ready to play the team up north, and coach was giving a speech, pregame and everything, and then all of a sudden he gets a little bit elevated. Of course, we're playing that team up north, gets a little bit elevated, and then he throws his hand on the chalkboard. Okay, and then once he does that, of course, the team goes wild, like, yeah, let's go, everybody's screaming. And so as we're walking out, I see blood on the chalkboard, and I'm just like, how did that get there? And they're just like, Coach Coop, he hit the chalkboard, now he's bleeding. And so and, and so when you say bleed scarlet and gray, Coach Cooper definitely did that, especially heading into that game up north with the guys up north. But that would probably be a funny story for me. And I was just like, all right, well let's go. I think he ended up getting his hand wrapped up that game. But that's probably the funniest story I can remember.
Speaking of great teams that you are part of, 96, one of my all-time favorite teams. There's one game in particular that I bring up because I was a senior in high school that year, and I remember watching it, New Year's Day when you guys beat Jake the Snake in the Rose Bowl. I went back this week and I watched it. I even texted you, man. I was just like, man, you had one heck of a game that game, man. You didn't hit the end zone, but man, you got them down there.
Yeah, yeah. That Arizona State game versus Jake the Snake and the crew, that was one of the best games, if not the best game I've ever played in my life. Just the Rose Bowl in itself, just the tradition of the Rose Bowl, the parade, the different activities, the venue, everything is just so. It's just so great about that bowl game. I think it's the best bowl game you can go to. Just remembering those times and remembering those moments made it even better. And then the game where we ended up winning it at the end. We had Stanley Jackson and Joe Germain making plays, Demetrius Stanley, myself, John Lumpkin, Orlando Pace paving the way, all these different great athletes, giving their all for Ohio State. Just such a great game. Great memories. Love my team. Love my teammates from that time. And that game was just awesome, man. And for us to pull it out at the end, you just feel great as a person.
Still a top 10 win in my all-time Buckeye game memories. I mean, seen three national champions, but man, that Rose Bowl game, man, I still rank it up there as one of the top 5 wins of all time for Ohio State. That was just an amazing game, and just, I mean, you guys could have went the other way after losing to Michigan, and you guys didn't pout. You guys pulled together, and you went out there and you played a team that if they would have won that game, they would have been national champions, and you guys beat them.
Absolutely. The structure of how, college football playoffs and all of that, the championship, it was a little bit different back then. But we had one focus going into that game, and it was to win. We didn't care who we were playing. I think we were nipping at the butt. I mean, we were ready to go because we felt like we shouldn't have lost the game before that. But there was no doubt in my mind that we were going to come out with that win. And I think that's one of the reasons why we won. Is everybody in that locker room played to the last second. The effort was there. We had a lot of great players on that team. Mike Vrabel, Luke Fickle, Winfield Garnett, Antoine Winfield, Ty Howard, Damon Moore, all those guys, man. We had such a great team, and we all just banded together and wouldn't give up, and we got that win. Just a great win and a great feeling.
That's awesome. In 1997, you were all Big Ten and a team MVP. Do you consider this your great? Do you consider those accomplishments your greatest accomplishments at Ohio State?
Um, th- you know, those accomplishments, obviously, it sounds cliche, but they can't be achieved without your teammates. I had great people blocking for me when I got to Ohio State as a freshman. I gained 500 something odd yards. I had Corey Stringer up front. I had Orlando Pace up front. I had LaShawn Daniels and a few others, Eric Golston up front. So we had some great offensive linemen paving the way. Some great wide receivers opening it up for us. So by the time my junior year came, I got big shoes to fill. Eddie George had just left. He's the Heisman Trophy winner. But it was up to me to prepare myself up to that point to be able to carry on the tradition of great running backs at Ohio State. And I was ready for it. And so I was ready to have that great year as a junior that I had. And it ended up being one of the great seasons all time at Ohio State.
I mean, if you look at it, if you go down the list, I mean, they had Robert Smith, Raymond Harris, which is no slouch. People overlook him, but he had one heck of a year his senior year, and they don't call him the ultra back for nothing.
That's
Then
right.
after Raymond comes the Heisman Trophy winner. Then you have to follow that up, man. And I mean, at one time, you still may be. I'm not sure. I haven't checked it lately, but you were the eighth leading rusher in Ohio State history. I mean, eight. I mean, look
Yeah.
at we're like running back university, man. And
Yeah.
you were top 10, man. That's totally awesome.
Well, by the time I got to Ohio State, we talk about Robert Smith and just how great he was. Remember, I came behind Robert Smith, who was Mr. Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I had to fill those shoes in high school. So I knew what it meant, and I knew what it was when it came to filling the shoes after Eddie left. And so I was primed to do what I did and have success because mentally I had already been there.
That's awesome. Are there any current day players that remind you of yourself?
Um, Not really. For me, I just, being a running backs coach, I just marvel at the guys that can, do all the things that a true running back needs to do. The fundamentals of the game. And I got my coach hat on right now, but being able to again to run the ball, like to catch the ball out of the backfield, to understand defenses and to be able to pick up blitz protections.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that to this day, I'm fascinated with. And when I see guys go out and do that, it doesn't matter who's playing, and see guys go out and do that at a high level every week. Um, it's just great. Because now I look at the game a little bit differently than I was as a player, being a coach, and I marvel at the guys now and what they're able to do. There's a lot of really good running backs out in the country, and they just keep producing year after year.
our friend Tyler Kearsley wanted me to ask you, how do you feel about Ohio State going into this Texas game?
What a what a game to start off the season. That's game one. So there's no like waiting 3 games to kind of see how good you are.
Yeah.
Ohio State and Texas are going to know how good they are after this game. I think Ohio State's primed to win this game. You look at the athletes that Texas has; they have great athletes, but Ohio State has great athletes, and I think Ohio State has more athletes that are in place that have something to prove, and I think that's going to show in this Saturday's game when they play Texas at home. And what a I mean, we're at home.
Hmm.
What a better, you can't get anything better than that. We're at home. It's the first game. The fans are going to be rocking. The stands are going to be rocking. It's OHIO everywhere. So it's going to be hard for Texas to come up here and get a win by, you know, getting a win at Ohio State. It's just going to be tough. I mean, we're the defending national champions, and I think Ohio State's going to defend it this Saturday.
Do you have a score prediction?
I don't have a score prediction. Um, I think we're definitely gonna come out with a convincing win.
That's
Nice.
great. Talking about the Ohio State team, let's go back a year. How did you feel about their national title run?
Wow, I just think there was a lot of ebbs and flows of last season, some ups and downs, and I just think Ryan Day and his coaching staff and everybody involved did a good job of corralling that team. I think the leadership on the Ohio State's team, it had to be tremendous because losing that last game, the team up north, that's tough. That's tough on the psyche for anyone when you lose that game. But for them to rally and come back and dominate the next 3 games, basically, uh, such a tremendous job, and all the credit to Ryan Day and his staff and those Ohio State players that put on a show for us.
Do you think they could repeat?
Oh,
Yeah, that's our producer.
I, I absolutely think they can repeat. Obviously we have some new faces that are going to have to prove themselves. But one thing I know about Ohio State is just like when I came in after Eddie,
Hmm.
uh, you know, uh,
Hmm.
they got guys waiting. So there's going to be guys licking their chops to get their opportunity. And I think Ohio State's done a great job recruiting, and those guys are going to be able to step in and be great and be productive. So the sky's the limit for Ohio State this year.
I got one question I want to ask. You kind of experienced this when you were playing. That the team experienced this past year is they had a freshman named J.J. Smith come in who was highly touted. I mean, a lot of publicity with him coming in. Generational player, and you had a freshman coming in on the team when you were there, named Mr. Andy Katzenmoyer, who was had a lot of publicity behind him. I mean, he took the number 45 that was retired. Archie gave him his number back. He was in
Absolutely.
Sports Illustrated as a freshman without playing it down in football yet. What was that like?
Andy, I was a junior, and when Andy came in as a freshman, I was going into my junior year. And yes, he was highly decorated. But when he got there, you knew why Ohio State, would consider giving him, the number 45. Andy had the size. He was just a big dude. I mean, I think he was like 6'4", 240 something coming in as a freshman. Um, I've never seen. I ran like I worked out with him because he was so athletic and because he was so fast. He used to try to run with the running back and he held his own in workouts. So that was the first time I had ever seen that from a linebacker. So right then, that showed me he was a little bit different than everybody else, and it was great to have him, come on and be a part of our team. And then he just developed into a monster over the next several years, and the rest is history.
Well, he had a lot of senior leadership on that team when he came in. So did he just kind of put his head down, just go to work, didn't be cocky or anything? Did he just come in and just prove to everybody, hey, I belong here?
Yeah, that's all he did. He came in, he worked. He did miss a workout. He just came in and did his job, and they put him in there, and he proved that he was the best at his position, and that's what we do at Ohio State. We just plug guys in there, and then the best they put them in the front. But there was no doubt he was the best linebacker for our team during that time, and he went out on the field and showed it. So there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Who was probably the hardest guy you had to go against when you were at Ohio State?
Um, we just talked about him. All right. So Andy, as he developed, Andy, a lot of people ask me, well, who hit you who was the one player that hit you the hardest? What was the hardest hit you took? Well, the hardest hit I ever took was in practice against Andy Katzmeyer. All right, so it's me, and I'm in pass protection, and Andy is coming at me 1,000 miles an hour in the A gap, and I got a block. I'm 5'10", 206 pounds. He's 6'4", 250 pounds. He's coming 1,000 miles an hour, and I got to try to block him head on. And so I went up there and I tried to block him head on, and it was like running into a brick wall. So when people ask me what was the hardest hit, that was the hardest hit, trying to block him.
TG, got any questions you want to ask him? She's off. Must be offline for a minute.
It's okay.
Because I just wanted to ask that because you had Vrabel over there, you had Finkus. I mean, then you had that secondary that had a bunch of hitters too, man. So I mean, that defense you had to go up against in practice, that had to be, kind of like a cakewalk when you got to the games. Considered the defense you had to go against in practice.
Yeah, and that's what Ohio did during that time. They recruited so well. We had so much depth that you could sort of plug anybody in there and they would go have success. We had some ball players at Ohio State on the defensive side of the ball. So competing against the Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel was 6'4", 250, 260 pounds with these long arms. Luke Fickell was just he was this big wrestler, big time wrestler in Ohio that held up the middle. Guys that came in with me, Winfield Garnett was a monster. Orlando Pace even played defense a little bit when he first got in, but just playing with guys that were elite players, you were playing against those guys and practicing against those guys every day. That's why we got some of those big wins that we got when we got them in the 90s, because we were really superior as a team than most people we played.
All right, y'all, I'm back. I'm sorry, my internet just started acting up all of a sudden, and that's the first time I've been having some problems, Lily. So I got it fixed finally, so I can finally get back to the thing. So what did I miss?
No, go ahead and ask if you got any questions for him. Feel free.
Well, what was it like growing up in Ohio?
I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, originally on 82nd and Superior, and moved out to Euclid, Ohio. Where I went to middle school and elementary and middle school. Forest Park and Euclid Central came up the ranks there. But growing up in Cleveland, Ohio, and moving out to Euclid, that was just a good thing for me. Ohio, that part of Ohio is, it's known for just hard workers, and it was just good to be a part of that. I knew at a very young age when I was at Euclid Central, which was the middle school, I played some football there and had success. That's when I really found out that I could possibly be a really good football player. So in middle school, I found that out. And then once I went up to high school, uh, Coach Tom Bank, uh, I guess he saw the talent too. I started off on the JV team, and by game one, I was up on the varsity team. Coach Bank and his staff were able to see the talent and kind of put me in my freshman year at Euclid, and the rest is history.
Wow.
It was great growing up in Northeast Ohio. There's no place I'd rather be.
and all the competition you have up there. I mean, it's crazy when
Yeah.
you look at all the high schools that are up there. I mean,
Yeah,
Mentor, St. Ed's, St.
yeah,
Ignatius, Euclid. I mean, it's crazy the amount of talent that Northeast Ohio has. I mean,
yeah.
Cleveland's a football city as it is, so I
Oh,
know,
it is. Yeah, we
I know
got
the
some great high schools up there. You talk about the Mentors, the St. Ignatius, St. Ed's.
yeah,
St. Ed's has won some titles. Euclid was a powerhouse. The Boardman schools. The Youngstown. It just that
yeah.
whole area. It's just so the football is so rich up there. It's crazy.
You said that you almost went to Notre Dame and you like Notre Dame. What was it like when you guys got to play Notre Dame? Because that was the first time Ohio State and Notre Dame played in like what was it, like 60 years, something crazy like that. That was a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, it was. Well, the year prior to me playing them, we got a chance to play them at Ohio State, and Eddie George was still there, and we handled them pretty handy there. Um, a quick story about me and Notre Dame and the recruiting process. Well, obviously that was a school I wanted to go to, and um, Coach Lou Holtz came to the school, recruiting me, talked to me in the library, everything like that. And what's crazy is they were going to be my very first visit, Notre Dame. I was going to make them my first visit. That was the team I liked, and at the time, I think Notre Dame was going through a transition regarding, their academics and who they will accept in. And at the time, I had a C in a math class, and they postponed my visit because I had a C in that math class, which eventually ended up being a B or an A. But they postponed my visit, uh, and I ended up scheduling them after my visit at Ohio State. So, long story short, I go to Ohio State. I have a great time. The people make me feel at home. I'm with Eddie George. I'm just feeling the love. And I ended up committing to Ohio State on that visit, and I never looked back. Notre Dame ended up calling me back, trying to get me to come on a visit, and I didn't go. So and they were pretty upset about that. That had some few choice words at the time where they had to call back and apologize, but they did. But but that wasn't my issue. They postponed the visit. I fell in love with Ohio State. Really feel like that was the place for me, anyways. And the rest is history. So fast forward to the game, I actually got to play them in South Bend. I remembered that process,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mhm.
going into that game, I was so motivated that if you go back and look at the history or my career, that was the best game I ever played. I got player of the game. I had over 170 yards rushing and over 50 yards receiving and a couple touchdowns. But I had something that I would say I had something to prove that game.
Well, what's funny is Eric Boggs, the guy who owns the station, his cousin's Ryan Miller, like I told you, he told me a story about Ryan that Ryan almost went to Notre Dame and he was there on a visit and he was about ready to sign, but he told Lou Holtz, well, I'm gonna go check out Ohio State, then I'll make my decision. Lou Holtz told him don't go there. He goes,
Right.
if you go there, you'll fall in love and you won't come back. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's what happened.
yep,
Yeah, he knew. But no, Ohio State's such a great place, such a great tradition. I'm so proud to be an alumnus there and to have played there as a football player. They're just continuing the success from years past.
Eric's also got a question for you. He goes, Pepe, what do you love most about coaching? And what is the hardest part of coaching football?
Well, the thing I love most about coaching is just dealing with the young men that I deal with, developing those relationships with them, kind of giving them insight on the way they should walk and the way they should step. Um, Hopefully being a great example for them regarding work ethic and doing things the right way. So that's been the thing that I love the most about being a coach. And one thing that I still love to this day, the hardest part about being a coach, I would say, is sometimes you care a little bit too much because you want to save all of the players you deal with. And unfortunately, sometimes you can't save them all because they don't want to be saved. And so the hardest part is for me dealing with times where I couldn't, I've been working with a student athlete and I couldn't quite get him to the point where he could, step over that rock and make a turn. It was very far and few, but those were the times that were the hardest for me and has been the hardest for me as a coach. But overall, love it. That's what I do, and I love doing it.
If you had to pick the two best players you played with and the two best players you played against, who would they be?
Well, I'd have to say first and foremost, the guy that came into Ohio State with me, who's a Hall of Famer now, Orlando Pace. Um, Never seen anything like Orlando. Uh, I was so fortunate to be able to run behind him. He made it so easy for me to get those yards that I got when I ran to his side. I mean, it was just you want yards, run to his side.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to pancake somebody, and obviously Orlando had a great career at Ohio State. Went on to have a great career in the NFL and is now a Hall of Famer. So Orlando would definitely be one of the best athletes that's come through there and that I've played with. Um, there's so many other great athletes. Uh, I got to give my respects to my running backs, Eddie George and Robert and Raymond. So it's kind of hard for me. But as far as gifted athletes, Joey Galloway may have been one of the most gifted athletes that I've seen in person, one of the fastest athletes that I've seen in person. And, really respected Joey and what he did in his game. Him, uh, you know, uh, Joey Galloway and Chris Sanders, when I first got there, along with Eddie, they kind of took me under their wing. I was a young guy or whatnot. And so they kind of showed me the ropes. They would talk to me from time to time and just kind of tell me what things to do and what things not to do. But that was just a part of their character and what made them great. But Joey
Um,
Galloway is one of the greatest athletes I've ever seen as well.
how about played against?
Um, Charles Woodson, as far as collegiately, that he would be one of the best players that I played against, and Peyton Manning would be the other one when we played Peyton Manning in the Citrus Bowl.
Man,
That is amazing. Sean, did you ever ask him about the Ohio State game day atmosphere? How they're looking upgraded?
how, how do you feel about what they're doing about trying to get the game day atmosphere better at Ohio State? Do you have any opinions on that?
Well, I haven't really heard much about that. I know traditionally in big games, Ohio State's rocking in big
Mm-hmm.
games. I know at times because of maybe our alumni, a few of them or whatever, with the expectation for us to always win. I don't know if the stadium gets as loud as it can at times, but I think in general, when there's a big game, I mean, you're not going to find a louder place. I think Ohio State does a tremendous job with their game day atmosphere. Um, they got great tailgates around the stadium. They do a great job with the recruits at the stadium. I would have to delve more into that and what's going on with it to be able to comment further. But, to my knowledge, they do an outstanding job.
Looking back on your career, what's probably maybe one or two moments that you really just you look back on, you're just like, that's a proud moment, or a game that you can't, that you always go back to, that you love to go back to and watch.
Well, the Rose Bowl is one of those memories because that was just such a great game. The other thing is just some of the things that you go through as a player at Ohio State. Like, really, there were times when at the end of the season, that last game of the season, where the band would come to practice and we would get to, you know, um, do Script Ohio with the band, and some of us would get to dot the I. You know, those were the special things that people don't really know about, or people aren't really concerned about, that I can remember that were special for me. There's a lot of different traditions that you're a part of when you're an Ohio State Buckeye. And I've just been so honored and grateful to have had that opportunity to be a part of Ohio State.
A lot of us feel honored because you gave us a lot of good memories, Pepe. So thank you for that, especially that Rose Bowl game, man. Like I said, still memory wise, that's one of the best games I've ever seen, and I've never, I mean, screamed louder than I when David caught that touchdown pass at the end.
Yeah,
Oh wow!
absolutely. Such a great game.
Do you see yourself? What's the plan for you and your future? What's your future goals in coaching? Do you want to be a head coach? Is that where you're trying to go for? Do you want to run a program?
You know, it's funny you asked that. Up until now, being a head coach wasn't one of my goals. Uh, but where I'm at right now in my life, I feel like I've been put in a position. I've been doing this for 25 years as a running backs coach, and so my goal going into this year at Tarleton State University in Texas is to just put my head down, be the best running back coach that I can be where I am, be the best coach I can be for the guys that I work with on a day to day basis, and really give my 100% to that thought process instead of thinking about being a head coach or going to another school. Really, I'm just at peace with where I am, and I'm really just trying to be the best at who I am and where I am at this moment.
Just to let you know, there's a lot of us on this show and a lot of fans in the chat. We were rooting for you to get the running back coach job here at Ohio State. I mean, we
Yeah.
love Carlos Bachman. Don't get us wrong, but we wanted either you or Scotty Graham, and you know what, Carlos has done a great job. So I got to give Carlos his props. But we were rooting for you, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Life is tricky sometimes, and that's a part of life. I was just grateful to get the opportunity to interview. Um, I know that I was up there, and I almost got the opportunity, but sometimes it just doesn't work out, and that's okay. And so again, that's why my mentality and my focus is being the best that I can be where I am, and continuing to do things that I've done for 25 years. Continue to pour back into the student athletes that I've dealt with over the years, and do the same going forward. And that's just where I am. If a place like Ohio State comes calling one day, that's great. But if not, I'm going to continue to be the best I can be every day where I am.
Well,
I'll ask this: if Ohio State ever gave you the chance to be an assistant running back coach or analyst, would you take it?
if Ohio if Ohio State asked me to do anything, I would take
I figured.
it.
How would it feel to coach these younger guys, especially like the next generation coming up? And what information would you give the current players as of now, as far as how to handle this season and beyond?
Just coaching these guys nowadays. First of all, they keep me young. They keep me on top of everything that's going. At least they keep me young minded. Maybe I'm a little bit older, but you know, I kind of live through my players a lot. So some of the things they do, the songs that you listen to, the dances that they do, I live through them. I'm not a big dancer or whatnot, but I love seeing them do it, and that kind of brings me joy. But it's just great working with the gentlemen that I work with on a day to day basis. Just trying to earn their respect as their leader, and I think that's just where everybody should be. Ohio State has a great running backs coach in place, a great coaching staff in place that imparts wisdom and knowledge into those student athletes there. And they've always done a tremendous job of doing that. And that's what makes coaching fun, and that's what makes it great. So, I'm going to continue to do things at a high level where I am, and I'm always rooting for Ohio State to be the best.
I tell you what, Pepe, after what I witnessed last Saturday, your kids looked phenomenal. So you're doing a great job, my friend. I mean, you really
Appreciate it.
are, truly, honestly. And we're gonna be pulling for you guys. I mean, if you want to send us some swag, we'll promote it. We'll promote you
Okay,
guys.
okay.
Yeah.
So
All right,
let's.
you guys will have to send me your address. I'll send you some swag.
Oh, heck yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate
No
that. We'll
doubt.
always, hey man, we always support our former Buckeyes. I mean, you're a Buckeye no matter what. I mean, once a Buckeye, always a Buckeye, right? So,
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So
but well, you've been more than gracious with your time. TG, is there anything else you'd like to ask Mr. Pearson before we
Nah, he's
get
answered
out there?
everything for me.
Pepe, can't thank you enough, man. You've been nothing but a gentleman and a class act, and been gracious. I appreciate you, man. Hopefully, we can get you to come back on again. Um,
anytime, anytime.
Next week we got one of your former teammates, Mr. Matt Finkus, coming on. So
Oh, Matt. Well, tell Matt I said hi.
I will. Hey, one thing before I let you go, I know Eric would love this. Do you have any funny stories about Ryan Miller?
About Ryan,
Yeah.
uh, I don't have many stories about funny stories about Ryan, but when I was one thing that's pretty cool is the brotherhood we all have. I was going to get my master's at Marshall University when I was there, my master's in leadership, and I needed some help, and as far as nonprofits and what Ryan has done a tremendous job with the nonprofit that he and Luke Fickle and Mike Vrabel
Second
are
and seven.
part of Second and Seven. They've done a tremendous job. So he was able to help me out regarding some information that I needed in regards to nonprofits and how all of that stuff is ran. And so, more than a funny story, it's just the brotherhood that you continue to have as life goes on. That's the thing I respect about us, the brotherhood in Ohio State.
Funny that you bring up second and seven because Eric also does a show on this channel, and
Yeah,
sometimes we collaborate with them. But they raise a lot of money for the second and seven, and the people in
yeah,
the
they do.
chat
Yeah.
send in money. I mean, I forget they've opened like 10 libraries. I mean, they've raised that much money to help these kids. So I mean, it's a phenomenal job. You're right that Ryan does with them
Yes,
guys, and that charity's awesome.
yes, sir. Yes,
But
sir.
we would like to thank you again for coming on. Like I said, you got an open invitation, and maybe we'll have you on maybe at the end of the season. And if you make a playoff run, maybe we'll have you on. Before you go to the playoffs, and we'll be cheering for you guys.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, and thanks for you guys having me on.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
It's
And
been an absolute pleasure.
the way we always end this is OH.
I
IO.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. Remember, scum still sucks. Go
Yeah. And make sure you guys tune in next week for our interview with another
Matt.
former Buckeye, and we're gonna have another interview at some point too, maybe with a future member of our of the Buckeye show, especially of our lounge. Maybe not. Well, you'll find out soon. All right, see you guys later.
go Bucks.
Go Bucks.